Welcome to Beyond the Comfort Zone Live, a show that helps you step out of your comfort zone into a place of growth and learning. For those of you joining us for the first time, I'm Aviva Wolmer, and I'm a Vistage Chair in Atlanta, Georgia. I lead 3 groups of incredibly driven and ambitious CEOs who want to accelerate toward their goals faster. In addition, I facilitate a group of growth-oriented key executives who are dedicated to driving transformative change within their organizations. Our peer groups are powerful mastermind collectives where members come together regularly to share ideas and experiences and support one another. No matter how many years of experience a leader has, the reality is their knowledge and experiences are still limited. They don't know what they don't know because they haven't been exposed to it yet. A peer environment creates valuable opportunities to explore the unknown, be more proactive, and make better decisions. By leveraging the collective wisdom and diverse perspectives of their peers, members are able to achieve more than they ever could on their own. Our guest today is a visionary, an innovator, and a thought leader who has achieved remarkable success in the field of professional selling. Steve Heroux is the founder and CEO of the Sales Collective, and his sales DNA testing process is transforming the way companies train, teach, and lead their sales organizations. In his 25 years in the industry of professional selling, Steve has trained thousands of salespeople to reach their targets, led multiple high-performing sales teams, and he's risen to the top of the field in numerous industries. With a natural ability to connect with people and a talent for storytelling, Steve's goal today is going to be to share his unique insights and thought-provoking concepts for us to all leave here with a little bit of a paradigm shift when it comes to sales. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome Steve to the show.
Hey, Aviva.
Thank you so much for being a guest.
Thanks so much, Aviva. Anything for you. Appreciate the kind intro. And hello, everybody. And if y'all watching or listening, thanks for being on.
So, Steve, I have had the pleasure of having some of these discussions with you before, so I know it is a real treat to have you on today. You help your clients in a multitude of ways to help build, grow, improve sales operations. And you do so in a way that I would say is different than most sales leaders or sales professionals that I talk to. So I'm curious, how would you describe your sales methodology? What are kind of some of the key tenets that you would say most other people would disagree with you on from the sales profession?
It's a long answer, so I'll make it short. But I think the most important thing when you teach sales, or you really teach anything, it can't just be some blanket method or, hey, this is the one size fits all. And I've been through every sales training you could possibly imagine. I won't mention their names, but most of it is a lot of just regurgitated, repackaged stuff from 50 years ago that's just disseminated for the one size fits all. And the easiest analogy I can give you is doctors and patients. So imagine you're a doctor and patients come into your office and they're from all walks of life with different injuries and illnesses and maladies and all these things. And then you, as the doctor, don't ask them questions, don't ask them what's bothering them, don't give them an X-ray, an MRI, a CAT scan, an EKG, and you give every single person that walks into your office the same 2 aspirin. That is exactly what's happening in the sales training world and has happened for the last 80 years. What you have to understand, what are these people's symptoms? How are they thinking? How are they feeling, right? What's the thing that's bothering them? And you have to do deep discovery in order to do that before you could ever recommend any type of medication, physical therapy, or some way they can improve. And so that's really what we do, but we use something called the sales DNA test. And many of you listening love assessments. I love assessments, but most of the assessments out there are personality based. They have absolutely nothing to do with the predictive validity, whether or not someone will be good in sales, because there is no magic sales personality. So when we're using the wrong tool to assess the particular skill you're looking for, you're not going to be able to identify the challenges and hindrances and mindset, self-limiting beliefs that these women and men have. So how could you ever attempt to fix what you can't identify? So that's generally the first step of everything we do. Is there's a sales DNA test for salespeople, both inside and outside sales, different skill sets, different competencies, different everything. So you have to test them in different ways. There's a sales manager DNA test, which again Just because I'm in sales doesn't automatically make me a good sales manager. I can't tell you how many times this happens, and it wouldn't happen in real life. Airlines don't say, hey, you're a flight attendant, you want to land this thing? Just because they've worked on a plane for 8 years. So you have to understand what lives in people's brains and hearts. And that's why sales DNA is so critical. When we identify these things, we build training around what we need to fix. So that's what I think makes us a little bit different than the rest.
So let's go deeper into sales DNA.
Sure.
First, how does it work and how to use it in the hiring process?
So do you want to start with that one? So think about if y'all have taken PI, CI, Myers-Briggs, DISC. There's a million of them, right? There's about 2,000 different assessments. So this one is all online. It takes about 45 minutes, and there are roughly 100 to 200 questions-ish based on whether or not it's an existing salesperson or whether it's in the hiring process. And the version that's in the hiring process, which is really where this thing is really best and most applicable and predictively valid, is we're asking questions of people based on the ideal avatar the client wants to hire for. So these are all custom built. So if you're selling steel in Biloxi, Mississippi, the talent, the requirements, the competencies, the skill levels, the mindset might be different than if you're selling med devices in New York City. So it would not be the same sales DNA test. And so when we use this tool in the hiring process, it's 92% predictive of success in sales. There's not an assessment that's above 50%. And so with 33 years of data, testing 2.4 million salespeople at the time of this recording, we know the math and we know what it takes to be successful. And most of the things we measure, people have never heard of. The need to be liked, that's one major hindrance that lives in roughly 8 out of 10 salespeople. If you need to be liked as a salesperson, you will give everything away. You will not challenge the prospect, and you won't hold firm on pricing. So if you can't identify this in an interview or a resume, which you can't because it ain't on there, you're going to have a difficult time hiring people that are going to be successful. Comfortability with money, that's another one. Recovery from rejection, that's another DNA hindrance we see. An unsupportive buy cycle, which means if a salesperson sells to their prospect the way they buy, they're going to lose customers. Because if you buy impulsively, you will assume that your prospect should buy impulsively. If you buy deliberately and you need to know every single piece of data under the sun, that's how you'll sell. So if you can't identify these things, how could you ever fix them? And so that's why, unfortunately, most companies get hiring wrong, because they're using the wrong tool. They're using some culture assessment or some behavioral assessment that has nothing to do with somebody's success in sales.
Yeah, it's interesting. Having been a sales manager at one point in my career myself, those are certain skills and traits that are absolutely necessary, but nobody I know on the market until I came across, sales DNA does test for that. The likability factor is really fascinating.
Yeah. It's hard to lead your buddies. And some of you know, because you try to get them to just go to a restaurant you want, and it's a big fight. Like you can't. So if you're a leader of people, you can't be buddy and friendly. You have to earn their respect, and you have to be likable, but you can't need people to like you. It's very difficult to teach and coach that way. And of course, as you know, parent that way. It's very difficult to do that.
Mm-hmm. One thing that I always hear, because I'm a big proponent of assessments overall for different reasons.
Yeah, they're great.
Asked, can't they game it? Don't they know those things? So I'm curious your take on sales DNA. Can a salesperson game it?
Yeah, it's funny. There used to be websites dedicated, right, to how to game, right, the sales evaluation. And what's interesting is the algorithms change. So nobody knows what each one means. What does each question count for? There'd be no way to judge because they're not all equal. In other words, they're not all worth 10 points, for example. The other way why it's not gameable is because we'll ask three, four, five, six different questions, but they're related to the same topic, but it's asked in a different way with a different analogy. And so nobody can figure out why the answer to this one is connected to that one. The other thing is we'll ask people questions based on the way they buy and make purchases. They have no idea that the way they buy alters and affects the way they sell. And so they're not simple questions like rate your motivation level, high, medium, low, right? So it's very difficult for someone to try to figure out what we're going for when we ask these questions. And that's why it's interesting to try to see if people can game it. But some of the AI that's built into the testing will know how long somebody takes on a particular question or group of questions. We'll see, again, are they quickly answering? Are they taking enough time to actually process what we're asking? And so it's pretty cool to be able to do that. And people really have no idea. They can try, but the test will actually let us know that the results were unreliable based on how long they take, how long they last on each question, and so on.
So you would know and could tell your clients that
pretty damn close.
it looks like they're trying to do something different.
Oh yeah, we've seen it. Yeah. Rare. It's rare. It's kind of like if you see these, thieves or scam artists or, these people, they put so much effort, into trying to scam people and steal their identity. If they actually put that effort into something good, they'd probably be gazillionaire, business owners and successful, people in society. So if you spend all this time trying to game, an assessment, we can tell, and it's like, this is not the right person. Right. We already imagine what they're doing in your business and in your company if they're trying to fake some assessment. So it's rare, but we've seen it. And I'm getting pretty good at pointing it out now.
That's very cool. It's great that you have that kind of fail safe built in.
Yeah.
What about training? So you can imagine you can use this assessment, the results with existing team members or someone you hire to help train on gaps. Is it a useful tool for that?
That's probably the number one use of it when we evaluate existing sales teams, because every company and every sales leader wants their people to sell more. Unfortunately, heaping undue loads of pressure and, unrealistic quotas that are pulled out of the sky, that doesn't work. This whole carrot and stick thing, from 80 years ago, that's not the society we live in, nor the world we want to be a part of. And so if you don't understand the intricacies of how people are motivated, how can you motivate them? It's kind of odd, but the only style of motivation that most of the leaders today even employ are the I say this and you do that, or I'll threaten this and you better respond to that. And if you don't understand that the reason somebody's not selling is because there's a confidence issue around, right, recovery from rejection, or maybe it's that need to be liked, or maybe they don't have something called supportive beliefs, which means they don't have confidence in what they're selling because there was no onboarding, there was no training, there was, hey, here's the list of people, go call them, or here's some specs, or here's how to do the demo. Most onboarding is the cause of why salespeople don't succeed as well as they should. And you may have remembered this from our time together, but the average length of time for onboarding for a new sales rep is 19 days. 19. Your Vistage members and people have been in Vistage for 5, 10, 15 years every month, and they still keep coming back. And we give salespeople 19 days and expect them to succeed. So it's not just the training piece that's missing. It's really the lack of an ongoing onboarding process, mixed with equal amounts of there's no sales process. So I could train somebody on anything in the world, but if I'm not training them to execute the process we need them to deliver, what am I training them on? So we found that's really the biggest hindrance related to training is there is no sales process. Roughly 8 out of 9 companies don't have one. It's not documented. It's not repeatable. They don't check to see if their people are actually doing it. There's no role play. There's no practice. But again, the salespeople are expected to perform with no help, no tools, no coaching, no training, no onboarding. It's like McFly. I mean, it's just strange how it keeps happening, but it
I
does.
just want to go back and highlight a statistic you just shared because I knew it was bad. I don't think I knew it was that bad, but you said 8 out of 9 companies don't have a
Yeah,
sales process.
86, 87% do not have a documented sales process that you could pull out and refer to. And it's again, it's a, I don't know if people on the call listen to or watch football, but imagine a football team not having a playbook. There's no plays. They just tell the guys or gal, hey, just like get open or something. You have 11 guys running different routes. What, you've got no chance. A Broadway play where nobody knows where they're supposed to be on the stage and whose line comes when, it would be a disaster. But that's most companies. There is no process, and salespeople are thrown to the wolves and then expected to sell stuff without knowing every single step, right, that needs to be accomplished. And so that's one of the biggest things we see, and one of the things we go in and fix.
So it's one of the areas you help companies is help them to develop or codify the process that already exists.
Yes. Yes. Most of the time it's really improving upon what they have and polishing it up, but sometimes it doesn't exist. And so we're just like, how'd you get to where you got to? We have one now. They do about 80 million a year. Like, how'd you do this? And they just have a great product. And so it's not hard, but imagine if they had a sales process. And I know, people love all my sports analogies all the time, but in golf, if you watch men's tour, women's tour, it doesn't matter. There is not one swing that is duplicated amongst hundreds of professional golfers. Not one looks the same, but they all have a process they follow. So it's not about some magic swing. It's what is the process that you follow, that she follows, that he follows, and getting good at executing your swing. That's what we go in and do with companies. We don't go in and go swing a golf club like me. We go in and help them swing their club more effectively so they can hit better shots. That's kind of what we do.
You've got some great sports analogies. So let's talk about
my other ones, cooking and acting and all that.
Those may be more up my alley because I can tell you I don't golf and I don't play
football
and I don't watch football. So
I'm mixing in more, which I'm working on. So
so with training, you talk about creating the sales process, training on the sales process. What other types of training do you help teams develop or do yourself based upon what you're seeing in sales DNA? So I just took the test. I'm an existing rep and I have a huge likability issue. I have to, what do you do to come work with me? Or am I a lost cause?
No, I mean, it's funny. Somebody asked that in a group today, and think of going back to this doctor-patient analogy. So as doctors, we would have a variety of remedies for folks, right? Whether it's physical therapy, maybe it's medication, whatever it might be. But there is a physical therapy, for the injury that somebody might have. And so what I did was I built this library of tools, and there's probably 160 or 170 different training lessons that we built, all online, all on a world-class LMS, right? Which is where we host all our lessons. And so when we find out what someone's hindrances are, we can assign specific lessons directly to them. So they'll be learning X, Y, and Z, or somebody else will be learning L, M, and N. So it's customizable for each person. And then more importantly, we work with the sales leaders because the sales leader has to understand the DNA of the people she or he leads. And so we work with them on how to build something we call individual development plans, where we work with them to coach their people on these specific things this month. And then maybe next month we'll work on something else, or maybe next month or next quarter work on something else. So it's all custom built. There really is no generic training we do. And it's typically a combination of learning online and then virtual training. We do most of our clients we've never met, which is kind of crazy, but we feel like we've known each other for decades. But everything we do is virtual. So we'll do live coaching and training with them, and then they'll have their online content to support that. And lastly, we recommend 15 minutes a day. Right? That's it. I asked this question in a group today. What percentage of a salesperson's day is dedicated towards selling or productive related activities? And it's 31%. 69% of a salesperson's day is either admin or paperwork or quoting or whatever. So 15 minutes a day is equal to 3% of a salesperson's working hours. And so if we can't dedicate that, what are we doing with our time? So all of our lessons are 4 to 6 minutes in length. It's short, micro learning. Just get your 15 minutes in per day. It's all you have to do. So that's what I think is missing in the training world, because companies out there treat sales training, like it's just, hey, well, maybe we'll check this box or we'll do it once a year. And it's really weird because, I can't not brush my teeth for a year and then take a day off of work, and brush, for 18 hours and then think, oh, I caught up. But that's what companies do for training. Like, that doesn't make sense. You can't go to the gym one day a week for 13 hours and, I made up for it. But that's why salespeople struggle so much, because they treat sales training with intensity when it should be treated with consistency. Again, we brush our teeth twice a day, 3 times a day for a minute or two, not once a month for 8 hours or once a year for 24 hours. So that's the consistent part that we try to make sure that our clients are implementing.
Yeah. And 15 minutes a day is very palatable.
Yeah.
Most people fight, I think, training because it's so disruptive at the end of the day, but
Yes.
minutes is not disruptive. It's just habit building.
Yep. That's it.
So, and much more consistent. I can tell you, I've been through many sales trainings in my life that 6 months later, I couldn't tell you one thing they said.
No.
Because I didn't do anything with it along the way.
100%.
So, let's see. So you mentioned before, and this struck me when we went down the path of training, motivation and, basically the carrot and stick principle.
Yeah.
How do you think you motivate people? I mean, you're right. I mean, carrot and stick's most typical, but what really motivates people?
Yeah, it's strange because a lot of the stuff that I believe in regards to motivation is kind of the same way Daniel Pink thinks. And Daniel and how incredible, he is as a leader, but he talks about this in his book, Drive. And so if anybody wants to read a great book on leadership, get Drive. But the whole carrot and stick thing, this is 100-year-old premise, right? If you give them this, then they'll do this. And that really only works short term and, task related things, right? Lick 200 envelopes and I'll give you $10, right? For your kids or something. But long-term motivation has to come from within. And so we talked about this recently in a group around horses. And so everybody on this call or, podcast has heard, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And if anybody knows anything about horses, if you've ever tried to pull a horse, that doesn't want to move, yeah, good luck. So what we do with clients, Vistage chairs, employees, right, partners, we just look for thirsty horses. That's it. They're very easy to lead. So how do you do that? That's what sales DNA does. So we identify the thirsty horses because we can see it in their motivation scores. We know if they're going to be a problem and we have to try to get behind the horse and push. Y'all already know what happens when you do that. So if you have a salesperson that's complaining about this and that, and they don't do CRM and they don't want to do calls and they don't come to meetings and they're not prepared and they show up late to Zooms, got the wrong horse. Just don't changing the horse, right? So it's just much easier, right, to hire effectively than to try to push horses from behind to get them to do what you want, right? It's not going to work.
Now, as far as tools within the company, a lot of companies use, and this goes back to kind of carrot and stick again, right?
Yeah.
Quotas, KPIs, metrics, incentive programs, commission programs.
Yeah.
Are you saying we scrap all that, or how do those things have a place in the world that you're describing?
Yeah. So the overwhelming majority of long-term successful people in life are intrinsically motivated. They're not extrinsically motivated. They're motivated by their own determination, drive, satisfaction, joy, mastery, those types of things. They're not driven by how many millions they can make. And so it's not really a function of what do my people have, really what's better or worse, because there are great salespeople who are motivated extrinsically. They want the money, they want the parking spot, they want the plaque on the wall, they want that stuff. However, if I'm a leader of people and I don't know which style my people are motivated by, talk about wrong carrot, wrong stick. So you've got to know this stuff. Again, if your loved one is a vegetarian and it's Valentine's Day, you're probably not going to cook them rare steak. Probably not going to work out for you. So you should know that. But most sales managers don't know that. And so because they like rare steak, guess what everybody gets served? And that's the issue, right? We practice the golden rule, which we should never practice in leadership and really in life, right? Treat others the way you want to be treated. No, you treat others the way they want to be treated, not the way you want. Nobody cares what you think until they know that you care about how they feel. And so that's the key to leadership, is understanding which carrot, if you like that term, right? Which stick and in which direction and how long and how often. But if we don't know that stuff, we're just guessing. And that's another great part of what DNA does, is it will tell you how each person is motivated. Is it extrinsic? Is it intrinsic? Or is it altruistic, which is the lowest of the three, but there's still a lot of people who are motivated by giving the shirt off their back and doing everything they can for others. But if you don't know which one of those three, right, your folks respond to, how could you possibly attempt to lead them? And so that's why we use this test and training. It just makes the job of a sales manager or sales leader 50 times easier.
So I'm curious then, compensation, commission programs, and all that. If people are motivated differently, does that mean there should be different commission programs for each individual sales rep? And
yes. Yep. And there's no right or wrong way. We have clients that run the gamut. One of my very first talks in Pennsylvania, I met a gentleman who has 57 sales reps. They have 57 different comp plans.
Wow. That's a lot to manage.
When that's what he said. That's what the group said. And he goes, it took me an hour. One time. I go, what? He goes, yep. We did it all. We have it all on Excel. Everything's done. So he built, right, the algorithm to what should spit out for commission based on what everybody does and wants and all that stuff. He built it one time, and he has 57 happy people who get rewarded based on what they want. Some are higher commission, some are lower commission, some are no commission, some are all commission, some are huge base, some are low base, some have unlimited vacation time, some have two, so it's really finding out, what's your salesperson's favorite meal, and that's what you make them on Valentine's Day. We have a client, they do 180 million now in food service business. They pay no commissions, zero, not a penny. Their average length tenure for one of their sales reps is 12 years. That's the average tenure.
Wow.
The average tenure for a normal sales rep in this country is 18 months. They're 12 years, and they have a waiting list of people that want to work there. But what they do is they pay really high base salaries, right? So they're 100K to 150K base, no commission, unlimited vacation time, every benefit you can imagine under the sun, and all the things, all the perks, right, that they would want. But the key is they do spot bonuses. So what I mean is nobody knows when a bonus is coming and nobody knows what it's for. So we met this guy, Scott, and he shipped like 500 pallets of Jenny-O chicken or something to HEB. So the company just showed up one day and go, hey, buddy, here you go. Here's a Rolex. And he was like, what? And he always wanted a Rolex. He would never buy it for himself. How did they know that he wanted a Rolex? And so people say, oh, they asked him, or they, no, they're very friendly with everybody's spouses. They know the kids' names, the dogs' names. They know all of that. So they asked his wife, what is one thing Scott would never buy for himself that we could get him to show our appreciation? And that's what she said. This guy will never leave the company. He will never leave. And they don't make 1 cent of commission. And all their employee engagement surveys, where they do to see how happy their people are, is always 99%. Their client retention's like 98.8. It's crazy. And there's no focus on sales. There's no focus on revenue or outcomes or any of that stuff. It's just, let's help our customers, right? And that's it. So there is no magic way. But that's just one example of a company that doesn't pay a dime, right? And their salespeople are killing it.
It's interesting to hear because, we always have, I think, very preconceived notions that there's a certain way to do it.
Yep.
And to hear companies that are successful doing it very differently, upending those notions.
Yes. It's growing. This faction of people that think differently is growing, and we're seeing it a lot in the benefits world. As a company, we have unlimited vacation time, right? Mm-hmm. Take as much as you want. When you let people do that, they take less. All the studies show that they take less. The reason companies offer employee benefits is to, retain them. That's the point. Companies don't do it out of the goodness of their heart, unfortunately. They do it so they can be competitive in attracting and retaining talent. So if you look at the benefits world, if you come to a company and I say, Aviva, you can choose any of these benefits you want. By the way, we offer 19 different medical plans. Pick the one that's best for you and your family. We offer 72 funds and 401k. Pick the one that's best for you and your family. When employees are given choice, that's what they want. If an employee comes to a company and goes, here's your dental plan. You have to see this dentist in this city at this time. Here's your 401k. No, I don't like that fund. No, well, that's what you're getting. Not good. And so you think about the same way as a comp plan. If you have a salesperson and they get to choose the comp plan that is best for them, what did you just do? And that's what's missing, because we have plenty of salespeople who they're the only working spouse. And let's see that the husband's at home with the kids, right? And the wife is working, and it's a one income family, and maybe their kids are about to go to college. She might want a higher base salary for security reasons. Just maybe what she wants. Maybe it's a younger person. Maybe they're single, not married yet, and they just want to start saving to buy a house, and they want all commission. Cool, give them that. So it's about letting them choose and have the ability to either earn more money, earn more vacation time, spend more time with their family, whatever it is. But if you give people choice, they'll be more apt to stay longer term.
So no one size fits all.
No.
And
especially with comp.
Give people choices. Amazing to see what comes from that.
Yeah.
So I know that you have some unique tools. You use Sales DNA. Obviously, your strategies are very different and unique, which is why I wanted you to be my guest today. I'm curious, is there anything new or exciting that you're implementing or that you're brewing right now?
Yeah, it's funny. Just got off Zoom with one of the companies we're partnering with. We now have this exclusive, but what we've done is created something we call a daily 100. And you know this from our time together, but KPIs, again, antiquated. KPIs, most of them are lagging indicators. They're not leading. You can't learn anything from lagging indicators. And if you just look at goals for growth and revenue and all that stuff, asking somebody to hit this doesn't drive this. It's making sure that they're executing the activities every day that will drive this. And so we practice something we call DPIs, which are daily performance indicators, not KPIs. And so DPIs are things we can control, right? How many dials did we make? How many folks did we reach out to ask for an introduction? How many LinkedIn posts did we put? Whatever it is in your particular industry, you've got to focus on what are the things that drive the things that lead to revenue. And that's what you measure. And so we've now gamified that. So we turned it into a point system. So now salespeople, they just accomplished their 100 points for the day, and they feel good when they go home to their families. And when they come into work the next day, they feel good because they accomplished something. So we've gamified that now through app. So this app we have is now specific to what their DPIs are every day. There's little leaderboards and things for companies that like the competition so they can track and see their buddies and how they're doing. And oh my God, Jennifer just passed me and so on. But every time they hit certain numbers and they hit their DPI for the day, they start to earn things, points, badges, and so on. They'll actually be able to choose things, whatever the company chooses, when they accomplish those DPIs and they hit their points. It's not sales.
It's fun too. My
They
old
love it.
company, our inside sales manager, it was all not digital like it is today, but created
Yeah.
a game of phones when Game of Thrones was a big thing.
Yeah.
So they had a leaderboard and a whole big deal built around the Game of Phones, and the team had so much fun with it.
Everyone likes games. Your kids do, adults do. How big is gaming in the world today? Everything's gamification. So make work fun. When work is full of pressure and anxiety and fear mongering from the sales leaders, it's not enjoyable. And do you think frustrated, anxious, fearful salespeople sell more? No. And so again, there's so many things that are polar opposite of everything we've been taught. But I think that's why we've had, humbly, some success, with our clients. So hopefully we can keep helping more people.
how do you balance though the carrot stick approach and then the DPIs? Because at the same time, you're still putting metrics out there. You aren't hitting them. What does that look like? How do you handle metrics in a healthy way?
It's a good question. Finding things that people like to do. So for example, let's say there's somebody that is really good at doing demos, but they're not good at booking the demos. They're good at doing the demos. So the KPI should be around doing what they're good at. And you have somebody in the prospecting world. They're really good at doing trade shows, or they're really good at knocking on doors, or they're really good at email communication, or they're really good at phone calls, whatever it might be. Find out what that thing is that they enjoy doing and they're good at. And so you build those DPIs differently. You and I both might be salespeople, but I hate the phone and you love it. Right? I'd rather prospect through LinkedIn or whatever. You'd rather make calls. Cool. So base the DPIs around that. And it's not about the result. It's just about the action. So as long as I know, right, I sent 25 LinkedIn messages today. Awesome. I feel good. My brain tells me I feel good. I accomplished something. This is why people do to-do lists. It's not to actually do the stuff. The reason that they were created for people to check off a box is for their brain to tell them you did it. So if you do those 5 things, that's generally what we have now with our gamification and DPIs. It's really 5 or 6 things. That's all you have to do every day. But if you just do these 5 particular things, you'll sell stuff. And a lot of it, we just don't know exactly when. We know you'll sell it, but it might not fit into the quarterly goal. But guess what? The money's still good. Last time I checked, you'd probably still take the money, even if it were 90 days from now. But that's the part that CEOs, leaders just can't seem to grasp. But when you ask the salespeople, they love it. and they sell more stuff. So sometimes we have to prove it, but we're okay proving it. Then they're like, huh, I didn't think this would work. I go, yeah, we know. So sometimes they have to eat something. Yeah.
Are there any last thoughts you have that may help leaders better inspire their sales teams to be more productive?
This is a long conversation, but in a short answer, you have got to detach. I mean, this is such a negative thought for people. This is just in general, and all of y'all listening, if you think about somebody that's constantly attached to outcomes and results and money and all that stuff, you will never be satisfied, because there's always another layer you have to get to. And if you can somehow learn, and this is all part of stuff we teach, but just detach from the outcome and focus on doing the activity. And I use this example today with fishing. I would rather be fishing than doing just about anything on earth. And I could fish all day, every day, and not get a bite, a nibble, a flick of my line, and it's the best day of my life. Why? What do I understand? I'm not in control of the fish. The fish are. So if you're a fisherman who gets mad because you didn't catch a fish, like, you got to see someone. Okay, so something's wrong. I can put that fly wherever I need to put it. I can get the right fly with the right water speed, with the right color of sunlight, all of that. And I can put it exactly where I want it to go. And if the fish aren't biting that day, so be it. That ain't my fault. But if I'm in sales, that's what I'm told. You're a crappy fisherman. Yeah, but I executed. I did the demo perfectly. I did a great presentation. They just didn't buy. That's not on me. I can't control a buyer. So if CEOs understood this and they just had their salespeople executing, these DPIs, or we also call them quality at bats, right? If you just give a quality presentation and that's all you can control as a salesperson, that's what you should be judged on, not some arbitrary result of somebody buying or not buying. We all know people who've sold stuff who aren't that good at selling, but it was a layup because the person was on fire and you had a hose. That doesn't make you a good salesperson, but you're told you are because you got a result. Therefore, you think you're better than you are. You will never learn, train, coach, and get better. And that's why everything we do is around the activity that will drive the result, not the result.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now I'm going to ask you a completely non-sales related question, but I ask all my guests. What is something that's outside of your comfort zone that you've never done before?
Something outside my comfort zone.
Your comfort zone's pretty big, so real curious.
I mean, maybe skydiving. I don't have I've never done it. I would do it. But I'm more of the, I'm not like a thrill seeker. It would certainly make me uncomfortable to be up there hanging out of a plane, but I love heights. But the thought of like jumping out of a plane, doesn't appeal to me. But that's the first thing that I thought of. And the other one, which is, I get this a lot, luckily, humbly, from people. They're like, have you been to like open mic night, or you done stand up or whatever? So that would be weird for me. Because I don't know how to like write material, but in my talks around sales and leadership and all that, I, feel like, it's entertaining somewhat, but that would make me uncomfortable, being some open mic night at some club or something.
You certainly are a man of many analogies. I think you could probably do an open mic night pretty well.
It'd be fun. But it does, I'd be uncomfortable. Yeah. What if they don't laugh? Right. But all of y'all that are listening, you probably could tell now it's still something, to be worked on with people. But that fear, of public speaking or of mic or whatever, it's all tied to that need to be liked. And so it's why people don't take risks. What you mentioned before about your comfort zone, why people don't do the things they love to do, like dance or sing karaoke or all those things. It's because they're worried that people will think badly of them or they'll be embarrassed or something. And so the second you stop caring about what other people think about you, that's the day that you'll start living, and only then. So that's probably what I would say about that.
There you go. How can people get in touch with you if they want to learn more?
Easy way, email. You could email, me or Janae on my team, but Steve at the Sales Collective. That's an easy one.com. LinkedIn, you and I know we're on there a lot. Just Steve Heroux, Heroux. But those are probably the best ways to reach out. Again, if you want some more info or all that stuff, like, we're happy to help, but I just want to keep adding value as much as we can. So if any of y'all have questions or comments or want to connect on LinkedIn, we'd be happy to connect.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today. It is.
Thanks again, Aviva. Good to see you again.
Honor to have you as a guest on my show and expose the world to some new ideas.
Yes,
until next time, everyone, on Beyond the Comfort Zone, I encourage all of my viewers to try something new outside your comfort zone, because that's where growth occurs and life begins.
Thanks, everybody.